Hey there! Welcome to the 7th day of, here comes some water. The 7th day of October 2017. I'm coming from you from one of the little natural, kind of natural, no not natural, unnatural, supernatural, no, extraordinarily natural little pools here in Laguna. Man-made, a little wall created right back there, here in this little channel here, in this cove. And so let's just dip down in the water a bit. Feels good, very clear, very nice. This is the good life meditation for this day. Let's do it. There are several pieces to this. There's the Declaration of Human Rights, the 3 objectives, and the 7 principles. Let's do them one by one. The Declaration of Human Rights is nothing more than an observation that in the pursuit of virtue, it's important to not throw the individual under the bus for the good of the many. It's a tricky thing to do sometimes. An analogy that I like to use, for example, would be that if we're just after the good of the many, then it would make sense to choose one individual out of every 10,000 or so, euthanize them and harvest their organs for those that need it. That would be a good thing for the many, for virtue, but it would come at the expense of the rights of the individual. And it's a tricky balance to set that up. You need some sort of rules or prescriptions, laws in place to set that up. And governments and societies, whoa, a little bit of a chill. It is October after all. I've been trying to do that for a long time. The rules that I tend to favor are the like the Bill of Rights here in the United States that we have within the Constitution. And I guess there's others. Magna Carta, there's no water down there. Lots of stuff. So let's protect those individuals, okay, while also looking out for the good of the many. Let's get on with it. The 3 objectives. 3. First is to develop through the course of our life and maintain good, sound principles. These are the 7 that I'll get to in just a moment. That's a tricky thing, and you don't have to come up with them yourself. You can borrow, beg or steal. I don't exactly can't trace everything that I've got in my 7 principles back, but I know that I've encountered them elsewhere and then made them my own. The second objective, perhaps the most important in terms of the day-to-day operations, is the ability to control our emotions and have good emotional responses to the circumstances that happen in our lives. Good emotional reactions. It feels so good. Speaking of good, now it doesn't always feel this good. Sometimes you're here and life will throw you a curveball. You'll be floating in the pool like this and suddenly a turtle float. That happened to me once, Waikiki. Jumped in the water after a trip over there, got in the water there right in front of the hotel. Big, giant bowel movement came floating past me in that, beautiful, clear water. And sometimes there's I kind of reacted, as you would expect, right? Holy crap, literally, get my family out of there, warning everybody. Feces alert, feces alert. And sometimes life will throw you a bit of a bowel movement from time to time. I think there's a wave coming. So we're coming that way. There we go, over the wall. And how we react to that? If we panic, if we fluster, if we rush, if we strike back. These are things that may have consequences, undue consequences that we didn't necessarily mean or intend. I would rather try to maintain control of my emotions and then respond with reason. Over the wall. Respond rationally and in touch with my intuition, while staying in alignment with my principles. It's a tricky thing to do. And then when I get to my principles, the 4th one, temperance, speaks to that. It's the ability to, if we practice controlling our consumption, controlling our indulging in whatever in life, then we'll be in a better place to exercise control when the time comes for our emotions. The third objective is to perform good actions, to simply do good things, right? I hear a lot of water coming now. Let's float over. Here it comes. Good emotional reactions and good actions. Yeah, good life can be lived that way. Wow, this is the good life after all. Whoa, the water's pulling me. So another piece. Let's go on now to the 7 principles. The first is the atomic principle, which speaks to the idea that everything in the universe is made of bits and pieces that are flowing and changing and constantly transforming from one thing into another. And that if we recognize and abide that, then we'll be better prepared to get through life. We'll be more comfortable when change occurs, when things around us are different, when friends we know and love change and die, and with the approach of our own mortality and death. This mortality approach, it's always there, right? But we can feel it, sense it coming as we get older, I think. Number 2, the principle of nature. Everything in the universe has a particular nature. And we live better when we recognize what the nature of those things are. And what the nature of those whom we live our lives with and spend our time with is. Well, I see a big wave coming now. Let's go take a look. Principle of nature. Finding out what our own peculiar and particular nature is, and then living according to that. That can be a tricky one because it develops over time. We may not be actually born with a particular nature. It's getting kind of deep out here, but we may have to be sensitive to it as it's revealed and developed over time. The third principle is the principle of society, or the social principle, actually. Social principle is an observation that there's both the richest and most concentrated virtue is found in pursuit of social ends, when we're looking after the welfare of our society. Looking after your own self is a good thing, but if you can do things that are for the benefit of the greater good, then all the better. Tempering that with the recognition that we have to respect the rights of the individuals. Here comes a big wave. Whoa! Right over the top. Whoa! The tide must be coming in now. There we go. Yeah, that's a big one. 5. Stay with 4 for a second. Temperance is really important. Temperance in all things. Eating, food, drink, work, play, sex, and everything that we're using resources. If we can control that and moderate that, then we do 2 things. 1, we have a smaller footprint in the resource consumption in the world, and 2, we realize virtue, immediate virtue, through the exercise of our will. It's a good thing, temperance, especially when you can apply it to your emotions. 5, social principle. No. 5 is the great indifference, right? 5 is nothing more than looking around at this universe around us and realizing that time is immense, space is immense, and apparently there seems to be no good evidence that there's any other carrying factors or faculty or sentience out there than what we have here with one another, and with those that seem to care about us, or dogs or cats or snakes, I guess. And then if we want to find comfort and peace and fraternity and sorority, then we need to look to one another. We're not going to find it out in the universe. And when we ascribe such qualities to the universe, we're probably engaged in an act of wishful thinking. And especially if we speak to the universe and it speaks back at us, watch out, you may be talking to a voice inside your head. I'm not making that as a statement that God doesn't exist. I'm simply making an observation that I haven't run across any claims of God's existence. Whoa, took me by surprise, like a turd floating by. I haven't run across any evidence, good, convincing evidence that that's the case. Next is the principle of reason, 6. Reason is the governing faculty, the ability to make sense of the world by looking at the facts, making arguments based on that have predictive power about what the universe really is all about. and then looking at those predictive predictions and seeing if they come true. These are not prophecy. This is not that type of stuff. This is like modeling the universe, seeing what happens, like, and seeing what comes around, like seeing that the tide is on its way up, making a model. Hey, in fact, the water seems to be rising. Something's going on. I'll make a prediction that probably, I've seen this happen a couple of times. I bet it's going to do it again. And then when it does, then I have some pretty good evidence that that's the way it works. That's reason in a very simplistic manner. If you apply that to everything in the world, you probably will end up believing more true things than not, which is a very valuable thing. Cool water coming through. There's a hole in the bottom of this rock here, of this wall, which was made here probably 100 years ago, maybe 80, 90, 100 years ago, to make this artificial pool. I'm actually in a pool from like the 20s or the 30s. Can you imagine the flappers coming down here in Laguna, hanging out under the palm trees, with the beautiful sea? Isn't that beautiful? Wow, the tide is coming up. And now finally, 7, virtue. The purpose of life in my model, the good life model. Virtue is something that comes when we live according to the 7 principles and abide the objectives that I mentioned before, and respect the rights of the individuals. Virtue can indeed be an objective thing. If we, as a group, can make agreements about what defines the welfare and what makes things better. If we define, for example, I define that virtue is whatever improves the well-being of ourselves and our planet, and we can make objective observations about that. Clean water, good education, access to health care. These things improve the welfare of ourselves, and then if we look out for the environment, likewise the environment of the planet as well. When we do these things in accordance with recognition that the world is a changing place, that everything has a particular nature, including ourselves, and that social ends are the best ends, the most concentrated form of virtue is found there. We exercise temperance in all things. Recognize that the universe doesn't seem to look back at us with anything other than the emptiness that's out there. Not the emptiness, but any emptiness of anything that's like us so far. And finally, using reason as the governing faculty, then we'll live a virtuous life. That'll be a good life. Well, I made through my meditation for the day. I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to go out and do some swimming. Get my mask and fins on. Head out through there, out into the emptiness, and have a little communion with the great indifference. Okay. Talk to y'all later. That sounds so wooey. See ya. You get what I mean. Have a great life. Have a good life. Take care.